Like many of you out there, I am a fan of a lot of wrestling web personalities, especially those here on YouTube. And one of the YouTube web personalities that I like to watch is Andre Meadows of Black Nerd Comedy. And one of the reasons I watch him is because every Sunday he does a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles review of said episode that aired that Sunday on Nickelodeon. Now, I've come out and I've basically said that I'm not really much of a fan of the 2012 series, or the 2012 to current series on Nickelodeon. And one of the main reasons is because basically they've turned a lot of the human characters that I've liked, from Casey Jones to April O'Neil to Karai, into teenagers, into basically teenagers. And again, it's like I said before, I can understand and respect the reason why they did it. I just don't like the concept. It's like, what's the point? And then add on top of that, you've basically mutated both. You basically have turned both April and Karai into mutants. Why? I mean, now Karai is basically a mutant that has shape-shifting abilities. Well, not totally shape-shifting abilities, but she can go from being a snake to human and back again. And basically, if she gets healed, all she has to do is turn herself partially snake, and she's basically instantly healed. What the heck? You know? And now you're doing it with Shredder. Now, Shredder I can expect because, he mutated in TMNT 2, The Secret of the Ooze, the original Ninja Turtles sequel back in 1991. I can understand that. So you want to do some kind of acknowledgement and reference to it. But like I said, why April? Why Karai? I mean, I understand making April part mutant is to kind of reference and acknowledge the fact that in the original TMNT cartoon, there were several times she ended up being mutated herself. From, the cat, like, best example, which she got a figure out of was the Catwoman from Channel 6. And then she became a fish woman with sonar powers, and then temporarily became a wasp queen, if you will. So there's, so I'm not saying she hasn't been mutated in the original series. I mean, heck, even the last season of the 2K3 series, the 2K3 series, the last season, which was called Back to the Sewers, she kind of mutated into a huge yin-yang monster, thanks to a yin-yang ring that Casey had gotten for her, not knowing the power that it possessed and what it can do to her. So I can understand, maybe it's a reference to that, especially now with what they're doing. Because one of the things that Andre likes to point out is how they always end episodes with like a screen capture of a character and kind of hint at what could come. Recently, a couple weeks ago, they did an episode where, where the what is it, the crystal, the stone, whatever April got while they were in space from this alien colony or civilization or council. Basically, she is. It seems, if just for this episode, she's become obsessed with it. It's like, basically Donatello from. If you go, you can go watch Andre's review on it. Basically, it's where we get introduced to Bugman and Needlenose. I think that's their names. Oh, Wingnut and Screwloose. No, Wingnut and Screwloose. That's what it is. Wingnut and Screwloose. Thanks to the crystal. Thanks to April's crystal. But basically, even when April got it, and they hinted at, and they kind of teased something a little bit while they were in space, I guess. And then, especially with this episode a few weeks ago, one thing Andre is always acknowledging is that it seems, or looking at from his perspective as a fan watching, is that it seems that Nickelodeon might be going in a direction of doing their own adaptation of maybe a Dark Phoenix-like saga. Now, I can understand why he would say that, because the way April got obsessed and angry about the fact that the turtles took her crystal, and the way, like I said, that one panel ends the episode where she says she's never going to part with it, she's never going to let it leave her side again. I can see where he's coming from, because It seems that Crystal, in a sense, if you look a couple of episodes before that, where she's fighting Tiger Claw, it enhanced her powers. It's like it enhanced her strength, if you will. Now, I know sometimes, you know, from what I can probably understand, and I'm sure Andre could back me up on this if he's listening. Um, I can understand how I can understand I can understand how sometimes they might do these ending. They can do these screen capture ending comic book style like endings where they, like I say, they capture, like they do a screen capture or something, and that's how they end it. I can understand that sometimes they just do that as a cliffhanger or a teaser, and then they don't follow up on it. I can understand why they do that because they want you to tune in. They're baiting you in, they're baiting you, if you will, to tune in next week to see if they follow up. And when they don't, then you pretty much realize, oh, they just did that to get me to tune in the following week. And I'm not saying they're not going to follow through on this with April. I mean, obviously they're going to follow through with the Super Shredder because we saw an ending where Shredder was still lying on the operating table and he closed his fist and out came these blades right out of his hands. You know, I can understand that. I can see them following. I can see them following up on that. But with April, it's like, okay, how do you follow up on this? Is she going to play a role over this eventually? Are they going to focus on this eventually? And I don't know. I mean, if you take a look at Wikipedia, and I think some of the TMNT Wikipedia pages or Totalpedias or TMNTpedias, whatever they want to call it, um, just from the synopsis of some of the episodes, it doesn't look like they will. Even if they do, because even if they do, I don't think they're going to follow up on it until maybe the next season, from what I can tell. You know, again, like I said, I'm not saying they ain't going to follow up on it, before the season's out. But we have yet to get any acknowledgement. I don't know if, Andre got any kind of clues or anything as to what's coming, for the rest of the season. But, I looked on IGN and all they talked about was the Super Shredder showing up on November 6th and Mark Hamill's character showing up for the next season. So that's cool and everything, but, we didn't, from what I've read there, we didn't get no acknowledgement of what's going on with April and this Crystal. So my thought is, they're still gonna work. They're still gonna probably focus on that, but it's gonna be more along the lines of they're gonna take their time. They're gonna build towards it. Um, for example, with the Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga, they kind of, in a sense, built towards it. In a sense, I remember watching the Out of the Past two-parter for X-Men and how that was kind of serving as a prelude to the Phoenix Saga. Well, there you go. And if you're an avid reader of the X-Men comics, then you know Phoenix Saga, following it, was the Dark Phoenix Saga. And in between, there was some kind of story arc or stories that acknowledged that they were setting up the fact that Dark Phoenix was coming, or that Jean Grey was becoming Dark Phoenix. For example, even though it was aired about a season or two later, or about a season later, I should say, there's an episode that at the end of it kind of leads into or acts like a prelude to the Dark Phoenix saga for the X-Men. So, in my opinion, this episode that they did a couple weeks ago with April kind of being upset that, the Turtles took her crystal and then it caused all this, and now she's saying, hey, I can't let it leave my side. I'm never going to lose it again. And Andre, in his own way, acknowledging, hey, kind of asking the question of, hey, Nickelodeon, are you planning to do a Dark Phoenix adaptation or your own interpretation of the Dark Phoenix saga with April and in this crystal? It's hard to say, but if they are, they're playing it. They're playing it very well. They're playing up to it very well. Now, will she play a role in the defeat of the Super Shredder? in the next few weeks on November 6th because of this crystal? Maybe. We don't really know. But if I was to do a guessing game as to how this is going to come about, I look, because I was thinking about this, and even though I don't watch the series, one thing like MLP first did for me, before I became a fan and a brony of MLP FIM, and it does the same with anybody in this situation. It got me thinking, okay, as a longtime fan of TMNT, and I'm still a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like I said, I just don't like what they've done with this series. But as a lifelong fan, I started thinking, okay, what is okay? I started thinking, okay, Nickelodeon's version has already made April part mutant. They've mutated Karai. What can they do next to really surprise us or shock us? And then it hit me. They could take a page out of the 2K series, the last season of the 2K series, Back to the Sewers, that I mentioned earlier, and they can have this this crystal, cause April to get corrupted to the point that she slowly starts turning into a monster similar to the Yin Yang monster in that episode of the last season of the 2K series. That's what I think could happen. But the way I see it happening could be a different take on it. I see them building towards to a moment to where April will end up kind of cocooning herself. Hear me out. Hear me out. They can build throughout the episodes with April on her own, even though Splinter and the Turtles kind of notice something strange going on, but it doesn't seem like nothing's really amiss with her at first. So we'll start noticing that she's taking certain things that look like I don't know, some kind of material, some kind of like not metallic or anything, but some kind of like sheltering material, something like that, something like hibernation like material. They'll start noticing that she's doing this, not knowing exactly why, and then basically you end the episode, and basically what they could do, in my opinion, because I think this might be the direction they go with, is they have her start slowly building because it'll be like this influence of this crystal that she has, that she starts building a little bit of what looks like a cocoon, so that when you get to the point where you finally want to focus on, as Andre puts it, your interpretation of a Dark Phoenix saga or storyline with her. You can have her step into that cocoon, and then you have her use her powers to have it seal her up inside, and then you slowly build to the fact that it's slowly mutating her and changing her into something similar to what we saw in the 2K series final season episode with that yin yang deal. So that's how I think they might go with it, to really up the ante, if you will, because like I said, you're looking at the creators of the series that, like I said, have already made her part mutant, have mutated Karai, have done certain things with characters we wouldn't think they would do. Whether we like that decision or not, or those decisions or not, we've seen them do it. And the heck, they've made Mona Lisa a freaking alien salamander alien, instead of staying true to what she was originally. At least referencing that or acknowledging that in some way. So, to me, I believe that if they're building towards this, unless they rush it for the end of this season, I believe going into the next season, because obviously there was no word or anything, unless Andre himself comes out on his channel with permission and tells us what they've learned. I would expect them to use the next season to kind of slowly build towards a moment like that, towards that, as Andre puts it, their Dark Phoenix storyline. And like I say, the way I feel they could do it, and probably will do it, is, in my opinion, is they're going to have her slowly start building something out of all this kind of like material that could be used to warm you, keep you warm, almost basically hibernated, if you will. That, like I said, I think what they're going to do is they're going to have April slowly start building some kind of cocoon for herself to lie in, and then basically kind of hibernate in, cocoon, basically lie in and hibernate itself in, and use to start becoming some kind of evolved version of herself, basically maybe similar to, like I said, a yin yang monster we saw in the final season of 2K, the 2K series, Back to the Sewers. So I could see that. That's why I feel, because thinking about it, that's the only way it could happen. That's the only way it could happen. You know, in my opinion. Now now again, knowing Nickelodeon, they may not follow through on it. They may do an episode where Splinter talks to her and says, "Hey, look, I get a feeling that you're not, you know, maybe that this thing is that she has, maybe it is something for good, but she's not, you know, controlling it. She's not in control of it yet. She's basically letting the power probably get ready to corrupt her." And maybe I could see an episode where Splinter kind of sits down with her and teaches her how to control this power she has and not to let it corrupt her. So I could probably see them doing that to where she'll learn to harness it for good and control it and not let it corrupt her. I could see that happening too. But in my opinion, if they go in the direction that Andre says they can go in, eh, they might go in, or they're teasing about going in, then that's a possibility as well. So, but the way I see them going in it is they would have April, in my opinion, because I could see this as being something they would do, is they would have April build some kind of like cocoon for herself to lay in and basically cocoon herself in and allow herself, thanks to the crystal that she has, to start evolving her into something new. In fact, even through the cocooning process, you can have the crystals start to kind of merge with her body, kind of get embedded into her body, with its, around her, upper neck area, like we see a lot with these kind of situations, or even on her forehead, you know, have it, have something like that happen. So I could see that if they were to do, as Andre, you put it, their own interpretation of the Dark Phoenix saga storyline, I could see them going in that direction with her doing a cocoon kind of deal, creating some kind of cocoon hibernation area for her to lay in until she, evolves or transforms into this powerful creature or whatever. So I can see them doing that. But that's just my take on the whole TMNT April, but potential April O'Neil storyline, April storyline in Nickelodeon's TMNT. Let me know what you guys think down below. Check out Andre Meadows' Black Nerd Comedy, or Black Nerd YouTube channel, Black Nerd Comedy channel, for his TMNT reviews. And that's all I'm going to say, folks. So let me know what you think down below. How do you think Nickelodeon will handle the April situation? Do you think they're just teasing us with that image just so that we had to tune in and watch the next episode and not follow through on it? Or do you think they're going to follow through on it? And do you think maybe they might go in the direction I'm thinking they may go? Or what do you think they might? Or do you think maybe they'll do something to where Splinter will kind of help her harness the power and help her to learn control it and not let it corrupt her? Or how else do you think they will do it? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. And again, check out Andre's videos. And that's all I'm going to say, folks. So